And Ted, will you lead us in the pledge?
Sure. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Cool. Our first order of business, our consideration of a couple of minutes. The first is the August 9th, 2021 non-public sealed meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve the August 9th non-public sealed meeting minutes.
All right, Ted moves. Is there a second?
Abstain.
Oh, yeah, right. Is there a second?
You looking for a second?
Yeah.
Second.
All right, Neil seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions?
Yes, aye.
Okay. Second minutes are our August 9th, 2021 regular meeting minutes. Is there a plug?
Make a motion to approve the August 9th regular meeting minutes.
Okay. Ted moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Yep, seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions?
Aye.
So all regular meetings will begin at 5 p.m. and the select board will meet on the following dates: Monday, September 13th, and Monday, September 27th, 2021. And if a work session is needed, it will now be included with the regular meeting. All the above meetings will be held at Town Hall, and citizens wishing to be listed on the select board's agenda should notify the Town Hall before noon, the Friday before the scheduled meeting. Chairman's comments. There are two. One of which is I left messages with Terry Murphy, who is the chair of the Bridgewater Selectboard, and we haven't had a chance to speak yet, but we'll set up a date for sometime in September, I guess, to address the Hunt Road culvert that needs replacing. And the second item is the Mir Project.
I just handed everyone the actual email that came in. It was part of that package that I just handed you when it came in.
And you'll recall that at our July 26th meeting, we gave provisional approval of the project to be located at the airport pending FAA ruling or their opinion on the location and whether that would interfere with the airport. And they did respond. Okay.
Page 3.
Thank you. One more page. I should have gone, but so you'll see that FAA determined that there was no impact, for the Mir project if it was placed at the airport. So therefore, it seems as if we can assume that we've already acted on this and can provide Lisa, the go-ahead to establish the project out there with those conditions that were already discussed during our meeting in July. We don't need a motion, do we? Or
You already gave her one.
okay.
In what's printed here, the letter from the FAA isn't printed.
I will get that to you, Zach, and the rest of the board as well. Yep.
That would be
I'm
lovely.
sorry. Thank you.
Very good. Emergency management update? Can we?
Just quickly, I attended a few meetings this weekend with regards to the hurricane tropical storm that we were supposedly going to be hit with. I will say the good thing from it is it let me go through the different policies we have and really take a look and update those policies based on the information they were providing with regards to the amount of rain we were supposed to receive and the wind that we were supposed to receive. So we didn't get the storm, but it did give me a chance to go through our policies, procedures, and process and update some things that were brought out during the different web meetings that we had. The other thing is Connie did give you an active count this morning of COVID, which as of late Friday, we had 15 active cases, and we've had 19 new cases in the past 14 days. The one thing we're trying to do is really to promote vaccinations in the community by posting it on the town website, social media, through the PD and the fire department, as well as posters downstairs. Our numbers currently, as of today, we have 45.9% of the population of 6,799 that are fully vaccinated. And we have 3,423 that are one dose. So we're about 300 that are due to get their second dose in the next couple of weeks. We have had the New Hampshire vaccination ban in town a couple different times, as well as there is going to be a vaccination clinic at Plymouth State University on August 30th. I don't know the times yet, but it'll be open to the general public as well as university students. So that's about it right now.
Thank you, Scott.
In terms of encouraging the citizens to vaccinate, the FDA approved the vaccination today. Maybe that gives some people some confidence in getting that vaccine.
Everything we're using has been put out by the CDC in the new FDA guidelines. The one thing, I was on a vaccination call or a COVID-19 call last Thursday at noontime. And the one thing they're reporting, which is good news, is that the third dose, they're calling it the third dose, is available to those compromised individuals now. The booster will be, is going to be hopefully starting to be administered on September 20th. Homeland Security Emergency Management, through their vaccination efforts, have started to plan that, and that is with Moderna and the Pfizer, and should be received 8 months after the second dose of the vaccination that you received. So those are the updates from last week. There was a lot of questions with regards to virtual meetings again, with regards to maybe us having a little uptick in what we've seen. And it was clear from the Attorney General's office that it's not an option at this time. He doesn't believe that there'll be another state of emergency that is issued. If there was, there possibly would be another order with regards to going back to virtual meetings. But at this time, it's not an option. So a majority of the board needs to be in attendance in person.
So Zach, was your question answered, or, I mean?
No, mine was more of a statement than a question, but it was today, right?
FDA
Yeah.
grants full approval of
Official.
Pfizer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which might kind of like urge some people that are holding off
Yeah,
to get vaccinated now.
Someone was concerned about the safety of it or something, then hopefully that concern is lifted after today.
And that's just Pfizer, right?
Pfizer, yeah.
Not Moderna.
Thankfully, knock on wood, I got Pfizer, but
I do too.
yep. Thankfully we didn't have anything wrong with us when I got vaccinated. So, all right. So there's no PSU update, correct? And is Dr. Ebner online?
I don't see him. Andrew, do you see Dr. Ebner? Nope.
Okay. Well, we had a brief update from our emergency management director.
So maybe he's thinking that this is still 6 o'clock. Maybe we should cycle back later.
And if we're still, meeting in public at 6 o'clock, we can, or whenever he joins us, we can defer. So, all right. Ann Adair, mask policy, Plymouth Municipal Airport.
So we have a grant that's in front of us tonight to approve For the airport, it's $9,000. And one of the conditions of the grant policy is for the municipal airport itself to have an actual mask ordinance. So in order to approve this, what I did is I just went through, spoke to Scott Whedon, he helped me with this. Basically what it says is to wear their employees and visitors to wear their own masks if located in the airport hangar or airport office space, if not vaccinated. If they do not have a mask, we'll provide them a mask. Supplies are limited. So what I was asking for the board to do is approve this policy, and on the very first page of the policy, I actually gave you a vote if you're willing to do that.
Okay.
Nope, you're looking.
No,
at
I'm looking further. It's just yeah, where we're heading. But all right. So so therefore, as a condition of the accepting grant for the so you already read that. Okay. So is there a motion to approve the policy that was stated by Ann regarding the acceptance of the grant for the airport?
I make a motion to adjust the airport policy to add this additional mask requirement.
We don't have a mask policy right now, right there, Zach, at the airport.
Do they have some sort of policies and procedures?
The only policy they have is the basic policy that we have for the employees.
Okay, so this is an entirely new.
It is. It's a brand new policy for them.
Policy.
Yep.
Okay.
But it's consistent with Presidential Executive Order
Right.
13998, effective date January 21st, 2021.
Yes.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
I'll second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Here goes Zach.
And this is the second.
And you want to describe the grant?
So this grant is a coronavirus relief and response supplemental appropriation. So basically what the town has done is we have applied for $9,000 for operations, personnel, and cleaning related to the prevention of the spread of the virus. And it actually came through the Aeronautical Fund. So under this act, we applied for, and if the board approves it tonight, it's $9,000. And we have to use the funds no later than May 5th of 2025. So we've got a few years to keep ourselves cleaned up and
But we can use it like in a week if we'd like, or?
if you'd like to clean it up that quickly. So I have put a vote together for the board. And because this is less than $10,000, we do not have to have a public hearing. Just a vote of the board.
Okay, so the first thing you want is a motion to accept the $9,000.
The vote needs to be the Plymouth Selectboard vote pursuant to RSA 3195B, which allows for acceptance and expenditure of unanticipated funds. The approval of the grant for the municipal airport in the amount of $9,000 from the state of New Hampshire through the CRRSA Act. These funds are for the Plymouth Municipal Airport for costs related to operations, personnel, cleaning, sanitation, and janitorial services to combat the spread of pathogens and for debt service payments. We, the Plymouth Board of Selectmen, further authorize Chairman William Bolton to approve a certificate of vote authorizing the Town Finance Director Ann Aber as duly authorized to execute and deliver any contracts related to this grant on behalf of the Town of Plymouth.
Okay, so the motion would be to accept and expend those funds and have Ann as the signatory and for me to
Certify the vote.
certify the vote, okay? So that's the motion. Is there?
I'll second. I'm not gonna
Are
give
you making the motion, Bill?
Sure.
Yeah.
Any discussion?
I noticed under the authorized representative in the application,
Yes.
Kathy Lowe's listed and not Ann.
I see that as well.
We will let them know that right now she is not here to sign, and that's fine as long as the certificate of vote shows that.
Perfect.
Any further discussion? So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. All right. So the 3 copies, I take it.
You can sign all that after the meeting if you want.
Oh, well, you can, right? Let me just.
Okay.
Want to pass it down, please? Okey dokey. So, Joe. You have,
Good evening.
hey, Joe.
So I'm here, I'm looking to put together another, some roadside mowing with Fairfields. I had come to you a month ago with a purchase order for Dean Yetton, but there was some unfortunate circumstances where the guy running his tractor had to step down and he cannot find anybody to run his tractor. So when I first did this, I had a bunch of quotes, and so there was, the only opening I could find left was with Fairfields. And so our roadside mowing is now scheduled for the middle of October, and for the sum of $6,800.
Okay. Gee, would Dean accept an offer to rent his tractor and we would use it?
No, he's pretty particular about his machine, and so I didn't ask him. I've known Dean a long time. If he wanted to let us run it, he would have told me. And so, it's only $500 difference, actually, with the other company. But the other company is an actual rental company, which so all of that is in check. So if there's something happens, and we're covered and all that. With Dean, I didn't have any of that. It was all his responsibility. But with Fairfields, I have to carry a binder and all that.
Right.
So,
Okay. Is there a motion?
I have a question first.
Okay.
Joe, this $6,800, do I assume that it means that we're doing the mowing, meaning you?
it does.
So is there, previously, the previous order had somebody else doing it, correct?
Correct.
So the cost is actually a little higher than the $6,800.
Well, it's the same money, except for I have to provide one of my guys to run the tractor. This is very late in the season to do this, so when I start making the phone calls, there's only a couple places in the state that do this, and any place that you call, you have to run it yourself. That's just how it works, unless you're someone local like Dean. Dean's just a local, and he just works within the Plymouth area. So that you don't get a lot of those outside people who come in with a guy. There's not a lot of guys with a machine that travel too far out of their own little area.
I guess my question is there something that's not going to happen because we have to dedicate somebody for 2 weeks to do this work?
No, I mean, we've used this company before, and we've run their tractor, and so this is nothing out of the ordinary. It's just that us being short-handed, it was easier to have Dean do it, but now I don't have any options other than not do it. And if you drive around, you can see that we're in dire need to get the mowing done.
Okay, thank you.
What happened to the machine we used to have?
That was part of a sidewalk tractor unit that used to break down every time we took it out. I wasn't part of the buying process, but I honestly feel that that's more of it's not a commercial setup. It's what we need is a bigger setup, and so we've been looking to find like a used tractor with a mower, but we haven't been fortunate enough to find one that fits within our budget, but we are looking for one. There's not many people that do it, but when they give it up, it's like hitting the lottery if you find that person and are able to buy that machine. So we're just keeping our ears open. That's where we're at with that.
What kind of price does a machine like that run?
10 to 15,000 maybe.
Yeah,
It's worth an investment to try to find one for the money that we spend, but it's still a gamble like everything else. You're buying a used piece of equipment, and you got to be able to put the right operator on it and make sure that you keep the maintenance up.
and I did get the intent from what Ted was asking is that, yeah, we're short-staffed now, and we have to put somebody on to, do the mowing, then we're going to be like extremely short-staffed, so.
Well, it's a service that we provide, so somehow we'll find a guy and make it happen.
You actually have a position open right now, don't you, that you're advertising?
I have 2 positions open.
Yeah.
What happens if we don't do this work, Joe?
Well, it's like pulling up to a stop sign and you're not able to see. If you let all your stuff grow, our phone and your phone will be ringing off the hook because people aren't going to be able to see. This is to keep all your blind spots and try to keep a safety in check. And if you let it go too long, then it's twice as much work the next year. And this money is provided in the summer services already.
Any other questions, or just someone have a motion?
I move that we approve this contract for $6,800.
All right, Neil moves, is there a second?
Second.
All right, Zach seconds. Any further discussion?
Two quick things. One, if this is the sort of thing we're going to be doing annually, it does seem like a $15,000 investment to own a piece of equipment that we're going to spend $6,800 to rent is a direction we should try to head, maybe before we have this expense again next year. we're in budget cycle now. It seems like something we should be thinking about. The other, and that's just a comment, not a question. The question I had, Parks and Rec doesn't have any sort of tractor or anything like this that could do roadsides?
No, whatever they do is on a much smaller scale, so no.
Okay.
But as far as your first question, we've been looking for a long time at doing this. I mean, if I had an opportunity like this come up, I would come to the board. So this isn't something that I've been just thinking about. This has gone up probably $4,000 within the last couple of years. It's just a demand thing. Every year this service goes up, and there's only a few people that provide that service, so it's a monopoly. So everybody's out looking and trying to find that used mower. So I certainly can price out a mower and let you know what a new one costs and keep myself in check for finding a used one.
Would Dean be willing to sell his?
I doubt it. I mean, I'm not sure that he's done. I mean, it's to the end of the season for him, so he might just call it quits for the season and then start fresh in the spring. But I will certainly ask him if and when he decides to sell, whether he'd consider selling it to the town first.
What you're really looking for is an orchard mower, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's different types of mowers. There's mowers that, that cut more grass, and then there's other ones like with a mulching head that cut more trees and shrubs. And we've in a spot where we've got most of our trees and shrubs in order. I mean, if you're going in that direction, then you're not caught up in that, and then that's what you need to do. But because we stay in check with this every year, I'd rather go in the direction where it's just a roadside mower instead of a mulcher.
You're not thinking of a sickle bar, are you?
No, that's too old school for me.
How about a laser? No, I'm only kidding.
He just called you old, Neil. On the record and everything.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Sign that. Good time. Thanks, Joe.
All right, thank you.
Do we want to go back for the COVID update with Dr. Ebner?
Oh, he's here.
Yeah, hit a mic or sit at the table.
Sure, and I apologize for my delay. So thank you. My name is Joe Ebner. I'm the Chief Medical Officer at Spear Memorial Hospital, and I was asked to give a brief 5-minute update, I guess, on COVID. I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have. As most of us are aware, we're seeing an uptick in COVID spread and infections with the new Delta variant that's come across the country. It has been identified in all the communities in New Hampshire as well, and the state epidemiologist has now classified all the counties as being significant spread of COVID. Just a second to talk about the Delta variant. It's a newer variant. All viruses vary. All viruses, just like all people, we go through evolution. Viruses go through evolution. And this is the fourth, or the Delta major variation of the COVID-19 virus that we first identified back in the winter of 2019 and 2020. So this new variant, what we do know from the science is that if the original COVID virus affected, for everyone that was infected, it would spread to 2 or 3 people. This has allowed it to spread more easily. So it's more spreadable to 4 to 6 people. And that's why we're seeing it spread, and we're seeing another wave of COVID virus infection across the country, including in New Hampshire. It's still a respiratory virus, so it's still spread by droplets from when we breathe, when we cough, when we sneeze. And so the primary means of preventing spread is to use a mask and to socially distance. What's different now compared to the spring of 2020 is so many people have been successfully vaccinated that that is allowing it to be contained somewhat compared to what it would have been had it arrived on the scene in the spring of 2020. So what each one of us can do is continue the hand washing, wearing the masking, and socially distancing when appropriate. Certainly, the state health department has released recommendations for folks who've been vaccinated as well as the unvaccinated on how to protect themselves and their families. COVID testing remains available at both Spear Hospital Monday through Friday, as well as the Mid-State Health Center. So there are opportunities to get tested if you just reach out to those two entities to get testing if there's any question. COVID vaccine remains the primary means by which many of us in the healthcare system feel we're going to eventually get on top of this. So I'll put in a plug for getting vaccinated. They are safe. Just today released the FDA approval for the first COVID vaccine. I suspect the other two will get full FDA approval in the upcoming month. And many of the pharmacies in our community are able to vaccinate patients. There's also access through the state mobile van. I believe Mid-State Health Center also has vaccine, and we could order some through Spear if enough people were interested. We just saw a lot of the need fall back in the early spring. Or late spring, back in June. And so many of the state-run clinics have closed, but still, I think I was on a call last week, there's still about 1,000 people every week in New Hampshire getting vaccinated, and the medical community does recommend continuing that push towards full vaccination. What are we doing as a hospital and a medical community? The hospitals across the state have resurrected our weekly meetings to touch base with how everybody's doing as far as beds, nurses, and everything else that we might be needed to take care of patients. So we meet weekly. As the number of hospitalized patients rises, we might go back to meeting daily like we were doing back in the spring. But at the current time, just like as back in the spring, New Hampshire hospitals are well prepared. We have plenty of beds. We didn't need to use any of those alternate care sites locally, like the Plymouth State ice rink. No one had to use any of those sites in New Hampshire. We had plenty of beds, and working collaboratively as a hospital association, all the hospitals are really working to get patients where they need to be if one hospital or another is feeling full. We did not need to accept any patients up the I-93 corridor, but certainly down the southern part of the southern tier, there were patients back in the first wave of COVID, as well as recently just transferred back and forth to where there were available beds from one hospital to the next. And we'll continue to do that. Locally at Spear, in the last 2 weeks, we've seen an increase in hospitalized patients with COVID. We've had probably 2 to 4 admitted patients over the last couple of weeks. The difference I see now from what it was when the first hit the scene in the spring of 2020 is that our heroic nursing staff, respiratory therapists, the hospitalist doctors really feel on top of it. They're feeling calm about this. They've got it. They know what needs to happen. We've had no additional outbreaks or anything like that. Those patients are in appropriate negative pressure rooms. They're being cared for by people who now have over a year of experience with COVID and feeling very confident in our ability to take care of those patients and get them through until they can be safely discharged. I think that's all I wanted to say, but I'm happy to answer any questions y'all might have. Oh, and lastly, I'll say I think people in the community did appreciate periodic infomercials or whatever through the public access television. So I will be in touch with Andy and Andrew and see what we can do to pick those back up again now that school's going back, the students are back, and we have the Delta. So I think the community would appreciate that, and I'll try to get to that Friday afternoon.
Thanks, Joe.
Right.
Any questions?
All right.
Would you speculate on the length of time it's going to take to get past this?
Oh, boy. Crystal balls. I wouldn't be practicing medicine if I had a crystal ball. But if we look at other pandemics similar to this that are spread by airborne disease, let's say the flu pandemic of 1919, it took about 2 or 3 years. Now, medicine's come a long way, so we might, with vaccination, which we didn't have with the Spanish flu or the flu vaccine, flu pandemic 100 years ago, I think we should prepare that it's going to be probably at least another year. But I think the more people that can get vaccinated, the quicker we'll get to the end of it. But I wouldn't hold my breath for anything sooner than next summer. I hope.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jesse Jennings.
He is logged in.
Okay.
There he is.
Hey, Jesse. You'd like to purchase a new Ford pickup truck?
It's not new, it's used. So, I'm looking at a F-250 used with low mileage, something suited for the transfer station. It's a long bed, which I really need. Also with it, I'm purchasing a new plow for it, so which came to a total of $40,000. If you do you all have a copy of the purchase order?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. So the market value for this truck was about $51,000. They're actually giving us a savings of $13,000 because we've done so much business with Plymouth Ford. And then going through the additional plow, admin fees, title fees, it came out to $45,000. And then we're trading in the 2008 Ford F-350 with its plow for $5,000, which dropped it down to $40,000. And the reason we're trying to purchase this new truck is that the 2008, the model that we received, it has a engine issue, which is well known through the Ford community. It's a aluminum engine, but it has steel headers on it. What happens are exhaust headers. What happens is that the soft metal of the engine heats up, which then it expands. Well, after it cools down, the nuts or the bolts that goes onto the exhaust headers, they stay the same size. So basically, you're damaging the exhaust headers. For the past 3 years, I've spent $6,000 just to fix the exhaust headers on top of normal maintenance. So that's the reason why we got the trading value that we did.
Okay. Yeah, actually, I took a look at the, how much like an F-350 with that low mileage would be for a trade-in, and it looks like they're giving you a pretty good trade-in, and also I had 4 recalls on it too.
Yeah, so it is not a very good truck, the F-350 Super Duty, for that model. It's a V10 aluminum engine.
Any questions or?
What's this 2016 truck got for a motor?
It is a, I believe it's a 6.2. Yep, 6.2 V8 instead of the 6.7 V10 that we currently have in that 2008.
And so what was the stated purpose for this vehicle? What does it do?
It's to plow. That's the main reason for this truck, is to plow.
So just the market value of 50K, have you researched that? Is that actually accurate?
That is actually pretty accurate on that. And actually, right now, if it's pretty hard to buy a truck right now due to the computer chip crisis. I'm sure you all are familiar with it. And that's the reason for I'm requesting a waiver to our bid policy request due to the lack of trucks that are out on the market right now.
So you haven't looked at any other places?
No, I did not. Just for the pure fact that it's so hard to get a truck right now. I did look at several different other models at new car, and we've done business with Plymouth Ford for several years.
Have you been all under this truck, Jesse? I know that this kind of era of Fords can have some issues with the kind of the cab corners and the running boards rusting out a little early. Have you had a chance to kind of check all that?
No, I did not.
Have you also done a compare and contrast between the costs of a brand new vehicle versus buying one that is at this point at least 5 years old?
So the reason why I didn't go for a newer vehicle is just because we don't put a lot of mileage on our vehicles at the transfer station. So I didn't I wouldn't want to buy a new vehicle outright for $70,000 to $80,000 when we don't put a lot of mileage. I mean, I can tell you that 2008 that was purchased brand new on a grant prior to me, and it's under $40,000. So usually the vehicles that we have at the transfer station, we don't put tens of thousands of miles on them every year. That was the biggest thing of not wanting to spend additional monies on a brand new vehicle.
Last question. Given that the stated purpose of this vehicle is exclusively for plowing, have you considered alternative methodologies for plowing versus buying a truck for that purpose? Maybe like a tractor or something of the like?
No. Yes, the main purpose of this truck would be for plowing, but we also use it to haul any other materials that we need, any construction materials or any debris materials that we need that, I would not want to place items in the trash truck that we have. And to go on with that, to your question of buying a tractor, no. Don't think buying a tractor would be suitable for the timing, because we would get there early. It just wouldn't make up the speed that a truck would.
You're not going to have a sander on this truck, are you?
No.
How do you apply treatment on the road?
We actually have a sander for our skid steer.
Jesse, I also noticed this is a super cab lariat, which is kind of the 5-passenger model and sort of the upgraded trim package. Is that because that was just what was available, or is there a reason?
It is legitimately the only reason why is because they only had 3 trucks that fit into our price range. They had another F-250 2016, but it was a short bed, and it's not a 4-door. It's a 2 big doors and a suicide door. So it's only a bench seat. So it's a lot smaller. Right. And then they did show me a Silverado 3500 series. They showed it to me. Then they said, "Oh, it's going up to one of our other facilities." So that one was gone. Basically, it's those 2.
Okay. Any other questions, or is there a motion, or?
I know it's really hard to buy trucks now, right at this time. It's like buying real estate.
But, and to say that New Car is actually doing us a favor by holding this truck for us, because they really didn't have to.
I'm uncomfortable waiving the bid policy, the bid process for 40 grand.
Jesse, did you talk to Irwin or any of the other Ford dealerships or dealerships around that have trucks?
No, I didn't. Just for the pure fact that we have a truck right now that we can purchase. Now, I brought my paperwork in Friday, and like I said, New Car was willing to hold this vehicle for us, and on top of that, the trucks are being so sought after. I was trying to take something while it was still available.
I think you should have other proposals.
I think it's worth a phone call or 2 to a couple different places. See what they have in inventory.
And I can definitely do that. What I'm worried about is timing. The fact that I'm interested in the truck, but they don't have to hold it, and they'll sell it. This isn't like we're going to order a truck.
Honestly, can probably do some phone calls tomorrow, though.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly checking Irwin's website, they have something that's fairly similar from my point of view. Super Duty F-250 SRW Lariat, 37K.
How many miles?
88. But if we're not putting many on it ourselves, how much of that really does matter?
Well, it does matter after a while.
There's another one, 43, with only 31,000 miles.
I think we should get some more proposals.
I would agree.
Okay.
So what you're doing is you're putting this off for another 3 weeks, because your next meeting is not until September 13th. This vehicle it might be there, it may not be there. But that's the chance we take at doing this. Okay?
And inspection is coming up. So
When's the inspection on the current vehicle?
September
September.
will be the last day of September. And if that vehicle is not inspectable because it has another exhaust leak because of the headers, then that's another $2,000 that we're going to dump into it. If not, I'm out of truck.
Admittedly, if it has an exhaust leak, you're not driving it on the road.
Right, because I can't fix it.
Right, but don't you use it around the yard at the recycling center?
We do. I mean, just to haul things around, even in town.
I think you might use it at the cemetery too, right? Isn't it kind of like, oh, no? Okay,
we
never
actually,
mind.
that truck is loaned out to several different departments if needed be. You know, I know that the airport, they use it to go get fuel with it.
So the consensus of the board is to get quotes.
Yeah.
And Jesse will bring this back on September 13th.
Okay.
Well, thanks, Jesse.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okey-doke. Other business. First up, we have Jenny Tebow.
Hello, everyone. So I'm here to update about the Cemetery Trustees. We have had quite a few meetings for the Cemetery Trustees recently. The big point was we updated the bylaws. So we have more set rules that we need to follow. I believe the last time they were updated was 99, but it may have been earlier than that. So we are back up to date. Colleen has been working with our webmaster to get the page set up on the website. So that's closer to being done. We did a tour with the cemetery trustees and two of the cemetery workers for most of them. And we didn't get to every single cemetery, but we got to almost all of them. We have some really beautiful cemeteries in Plymouth, and they are all really well maintained. On Tenny Mountain Highway, down below the Rock Barn, there is a grave of a woman, I believe it's 1773. And there may have been more graves, but there was a washout in the 30s, so we don't know where those people went. Part of what the tour was to see what the cemeteries actually need for upgrades, especially Riverside, which is our current cemetery. There is a serious need for tree maintenance, as well as the front fence line. And then the building that the workers use for, there's the crematorium, which just needs new shingling, which I believe the guy said that they could take care of. But then the actual building that has the ramp needs a lot of maintenance. And then there's two other buildings, and those two other buildings, I believe, just needed new shingling situation. But most of the other cemeteries just need a little bit of maintenance in terms of some tree work so that the trees don't fall and break the stones. One of the other areas of concern was out on past the traffic circle towards Bristol. There is the Turnpike Cemetery, and there's something going on with the grass there. We're not exactly sure what, but the ground is just odd feeling. They cannot get a mower in. They just go in and weed whack it. Some of the other cemeteries, just because of their setup, they don't even mow. They just leaf blow in the spring and then weed whack and check on. What else? Tara went to the cemetery trustee meeting virtually down in Concord. And there is a process for accessing money through the Perpetual Care Fund, but it involves going to the court system, and it's pretty much like a one-shot deal. You can't do it multiple times. So we're working with Jesse to get quotes for everything that we need so that we know everything from tree work to fence work, everything that we need for all of the cemeteries, so that it would not be a extra burden on the taxpayers, because right now there is no interest being earned, as with so many people's bank accounts, from the perpetual care funds. There's not enough interest being earned to pay for all the repairs that we need to do. One of the other issues, as Jesse was mentioning, that the truck that they have sometimes gets shared between the other departments, and sometimes it gets shared with the cemetery crew, because I don't remember exactly what was wrong with it, but the truck that the cemetery crew is using is falling apart. and so we're going to need to upgrade that as well. The other big step is the idea of a green cemetery, which would not be casket usage. So we started with Bill, and then we've done some more work in talking about like what we want, how we want to set it up. We've been waiting for June from downstairs in the office, but she's incredibly busy right now. But we would have to find a property in the town that we could use for a green cemetery. We don't think it's appropriate to take a part of an existing cemetery. Some of the older cemeteries do have room, but we don't know if they have room because those were wooden, not stones, but wooden crosses that were there, or if there is a reason why there was a huge area that was not used for burying people. We're not sure, but that would involve money to find out, and then if we found out that there were people there, then we couldn't use it. It might be a better idea to just move forward with finding a new site. So I know that June has that on her list, but we're not sure how soon that is going to be able to be brought forth. Any questions?
Yep, this big flat area up behind the high school that could probably be used. It has like markers for yardage, but don't worry about it. I'm only kidding. I'm quite the jokester.
Working on that.
Was there a discussion about you're looking at multiple things to expend monies on, but one was to replace the chain link fence?
Yes, definitely the fence. Right now, we haven't gotten any bids back yet, but or prices. But one of our ideas was down at the university on the Holderness side, 175A. I think that's what that is. On the field side, there's that really big, what looks like black, almost wrought iron fence, but it's not wrought iron, and you can replace just sections of it. So if something happened, it wouldn't be this huge fence that has to be repaired. The biggest consideration for that is twofold. Well, I guess it's not the biggest, but the two considerations for that would be cost of how much it is to input and salt. We're going to try to move it back towards the cemetery a little bit closer so that it's further away from the road, because the salt from that is just decimates the fence, no matter what we would put there. In the perfect world, we would have a beautiful, half granite, half wrought iron fence like we have at Union, which is sort of out in the sticks of Plymouth. But that is cost prohibitive, unfortunately. So we're going to be trying to find the most attractive but still affordable fence. The one difference is going to be in the sort of that entryway that used to have the banner sign. That was broken at some point, and we're just not going to replace that. We're going to do a different sign so that if a vehicle has to go through there that is too tall, we don't have to worry about them breaking it. So that's going to be like the biggest change to the fence sign area. But the fence, the trees, the truck, and the building, I believe were the four biggest areas of where the money was going to end up going. But we're hoping that Tara is able to have success. And then we will know, we're going to get working as fast as we can, because then we need to know if we need to add it to the budget as a warrant article.
And other municipalities have gone to court to expend?
Yes, there have been successful cases where municipalities have gone to court. She's the one who's been working on that, so I don't know like the specifics of all of the things, but she has contacted the person at the state that you would contact, and they're sending her the paperwork. It's mostly just a lot of legwork on our part, putting all of the paperwork together, and then getting it, with the bids and all that, and getting it sent off saying, this is how we've been taking care of it. We've only been using the interest, but we need more than the interest is providing. And it is a care for the cemeteries. It's not something that's extra. I mean, there are some pine trees that weave, like there's no tomorrow out there, and if they fell down, they would just demolish stones. There had been some vandalism a few years back, and I'm not talking about that, but like the stones that are just incredibly old and get broken, things can only be fixed so many times. There's like special cemetery stone cement. This is not technical terms, but it can only be used so many times. And some stones even had like, metal bars with screws literally holding the stones together. But like when you see them tilting, it's because the actual base has shifted, and that's a huge process to change. So unfortunately, those are things that, because it's cost prohibitive to change, plus getting the equipment to where some of those graves are, some of those are just going to have to keep leaning. So the fixing of those kinds of stones is not like in the budget of what we're talking about.
With the absence of interest and no clear arrival of interest into the world again in the future, what's the long-term strategy for paying for all of that?
So our goal right now is to get everything sort of brought up to snuff so that it is more easily managed. It's things that you just haven't been able to pay for. You haven't been able to buy a new fence because it's just too expensive and it gets pushed down to the bottom of the list, or not even put on the list because there is still a fence, right?
But nothing that you've described is the sort of thing that is a permanent fix, right?
No,
like
but
trees
like,
are going to continue to
true.
grow.
Part of
fences
what
are
we
gonna
would be doing,
wear out, trucks
like
are
when
gonna
we were
continue
talking to the, when we were talking with Ryan, he was like, oh, well, definitely these trees. And I'm like, well, we would expand that and ask the tree workers, what do you see being a problem in the next 10 to 15 years? So that it can be moved forward, so that the perpetual care can be brought forward, and hopefully interest can change, because it does change. Fingers crossed it'll change for the better soon. Unfortunately, there is only so much that we can do, but a lot of these projects have sort of just been put off because there wasn't money, and it's getting to the point where it's a danger to the cemeteries. So even though it's literally just making it another problem for 15 years from now, it's one of those things where you're sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place in fixing them. So that's not really a great answer, but it's sort of just where we are.
Any other?
Is there going to be any legal costs associated with this at all?
Not that Tara mentioned.
Okay, if there is, just bear in mind that that would have to come out of the cemetery budget.
Okay.
Okay.
I will
just-
bring that up to her.
Yep, and you want to
Make
make
sure.
sure that you discuss that with Jesse?
Yep.
Because he's kind of overseeing.
Oh, yeah,
all
no,
that.
he wasn't able to be there on our tour because of other commitments, but he's been every step of the way, letting us know, like, why things need to be replaced and replace versus fixing, because originally we were talking about taking the truck with the $2,000 repair and seeing if we could try to make that work for the cemetery instead. We've been discussing as many options as we can to keep prices down, so.
Right.
Well, thanks, Jenny, and I'm glad I bumped into you at the bank and had that discussion, because
Yeah.
you've been doing a lot of stuff, and
We've been
it's great that
trying.
you're
Yeah,
bringing it
getting everything
forward.
just sort of up to date and
Yeah.
seeing what we can do. So,
Thanks.
thank you.
Grace Garvey, standard power presentation and MOU.
Good evening. I guess I'll take this off so you can hear me a little better. I actually have three things. I don't know if it's covered by this one agenda item. Should I just sort of plow on and have you throw down the white flag if I violate the agenda item? All right, here goes. Number one, I know we've talked about reorganizing the Plymouth Energy Commission, and we do have 5 kind of viable parties who are somewhat interested, and we're going to meet in a week informally. From there, if we can actually get them to commit, we'll write a letter of intention to the select board from each member. Is that the way I need to do it, Ann?
Yes, please.
So that's the first item. Second item is this memorandum of understanding, and that would be, if you recall, last time, what was it, 2 weeks ago, and then a month ago, we've talked about this communal energy purchasing platform that was created by House Bill, well, actually RSA 53-E2. This memorandum of agreement was presented to us, whereby we, if signed, we could get Good Energy to research and do some community outreach in Plymouth to see if the standard power platform is something that the municipality, meaning the voters, the townspeople, the residents are interested in. I guess the last time I was talking with this, with the board about this, I guess I kind of neglected to remember that there would have to be a memorandum signed by someone, and I thought maybe it could be by an energy commission if we could get reactivated, but I think Ann suggested we would need to run it by the select board. Is that clear as mud?
So currently the town, just, I'm not sure that it matters, but we do have an agreement for our power purchase rates through January, some are December 22, others are January 23, and this is with Constellation. So we can't, at this time, get out of those agreements as I understand it.
So I think I should jump in. This is for the residents,
Right.
not
Okay.
for the municipal buildings. It has nothing to do with the town
So this
purchasing
is for
power.
residents only.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly, residents and business owners.
Thank you.
So if this weren't passed, then all residents and business owners would be part of this group purchasing platform unless they opt out. Make sense? But this memorandum would only be to research and do some community outreach to see if the residents and business owners of Plymouth, of our fine town of Plymouth, are interested in group purchasing. And usually, group purchasing has two goals, and one is, maybe cheaper power, but the other could be something like renewable energy, if they so choose to make that one of the goals. Those are kind of the two big goals usually that are outlined eventually if we pass a warrant article.
Is there any cost associated with this?
Not initially.
For mailers or anything? There's
Nothing.
no cost at all?
No, it all is taken up, the burden of that cost is taken up by Good Energy and Standard Power.
Sounds intriguing. Sounds good. I'm not certain we have the authority to do this, though, but at least as a municipality to approve of a single company coming in to provide power that I don't know if it's like would we
So again, this memorandum would only be for Good Energy and Standard Power to research at the local level and do some community outreach to see if the residents and the businesses want to even participate.
okay.
And then from there, it would go to a warrant article, right? And the warrant article would have to get voted on and passed. And if it's passed, then there'd be a design. So just to be clear, and I'm not trying to push this, but because I'm interested in getting the Plymouth Energy Commission up and running, this is part of what we're looking at,
Okay.
even though we're not formed yet.
So the downside if we don't do it, in your opinion?
There isn't any. The downside would really be with Good Energy and Standard Powered, really, because
The
they've
down-
done all that work.
The downside is that we wouldn't be able to move forward on a community power plan until we do it, right? So it's just the downside of not, if we don't do it, then we're not
Everything stays.
doing it.
Everything stays the same.
Everything stays the same. Yeah.
All right.
I don't know if, I don't know if this is one of those sort of things that needs to get run by the town attorney.
Probably so. I just, I'm not quite firm that this is like the best thing that we can actually sign at this point, or I don't know.
I think putting it in front of our town attorney makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to look at these RSAs and see if there's anything we should be worried about here, see if there's any risks that we're not thinking of.
Do we need a motion to do that?
Just tell me that that's what you want to do, and I'll have it done.
Yeah.
The other thing is Grace, do you plan on coming back with your 5 members on the 13th of September?
Can I let you know on the 30th?
You can do that.
We're convening informally on the 30th.
Okay. So until you have a committee, or commission, you shouldn't be signing this anyways, because that's part of the.
You have to have the commission in order to,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, you need a local group that's the cheerleader, so to speak, and the folks that walk forward and liaison with the select board.
And then we can run it by John Radigan after she contacts me on the 30th, whether or not they have 5 people who have committed to be on the committee, if that's what you want to do.
So if they were a commission, could they just do this themselves?
I'd have to ask John, I don't know.
Yeah, because I think, its commission has, more powers than general
They do,
committees,
but
so.
other commissions actually come to the select board to have them sign off on things. The Conservation Commission and.
So I was thinking of, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think so. So this process has been unleashed in a couple communities in New Hampshire, particularly Lebanon, Hanover, and then somewhere down in Monadnock. Maybe it's Keene. And it's in all those cases, it was the municipality that signed it. So it was the select board or town administrator,
Right.
as far as I understand.
All right.
So I personally couldn't sign this as like a chair of some committee.
Grace, what's the odds that you're going to have 5 people?
Good. I think good right now.
With that in mind, I don't know as we wait till the 30th to figure out our legal responsibilities on this.
Well, your next meeting is not until the 13th anyways.
Yeah.
Right, so why not?
Sure, we have 3 weeks.
Quite a bit of time to get.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me know how you make out.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
I think this is very encouraging.
Yeah.
That's interesting, I think.
Agreed.
There's something like hundreds of communities in Massachusetts who have joined onto this group purchase platform. So they must know something I don't know, or we don't. We haven't experienced yet.
Well, it's not binding unless we vote for it at town meeting.
Exactly. And then the third part, do I have more time?
Okay.
Is these solar PV proposals that we working on informally? I don't know if you have one copy each of 2 buildings that,
I have what you sent for the last meeting.
um,
And then they also have what you sent today.
okay, so the one that I sent today is most current. And this was put together by New England Commercial Solar Services. Ted Van Zant, who lives over in Holderness, who many of you might know, he's done a lot of solar PV in the area. And he's just, we haven't paid him anything. He's just sort of doing some consulting. One is for the police rooftop. And we met with the chief a while ago and kind of got a sense of the building, and then Ted put together this proposal for the police rooftop solar. It shows you on the left side system information, year 1 project financing, depreciation, et cetera, et cetera. And then the other building that seemed most appropriate is the highway garage, or the town shed, or whatever y'all want to call it. It's got a good, both of those 2 buildings have decent orientation. The fire department, kind of iffy. We looked at the transfer station. It's got 2 funky roofs that, one of which is, what do you call that stuff? Not leather, sorry, tar, overlain with stone?
It's a membrane.
Membrane, thank you. So affixing a solar PV is a little more tricky, so we thought we'd just do up these 2 at the very least and show you what could be proposed. These are also 2 items that would have to be really seriously drawn up, some financing, researched, and then also taken to warrant article for next town meeting. Any questions about them? And I'll answer as best I can. Questions.
Do the kind of return on investment graphs that are here, do these assume a fixed cost of energy, or are they including some sort of energy cost increase over time?
They don't. They simply look at that particular outlay of money and the building's energy needs.
So the cost of energy needs of the building today, it doesn't necessarily project forward and say energy over the past 10 years has gone up X percent a year and apply any sort of
What I
inflation to that.
understand. Yeah. Yes.
Any
Why
big-
is such a huge difference between the financing between the highway and the police? So much, the police is more complicated, larger. Am I misreading it?
Size.
Yeah, the size would be a big one. So the system total on the police roof would be 72 kilowatt, 180 400-watt panels.
Yeah, we use significantly more electricity at the police department. And you don't forget we have a dispatch center, 24/7, lights are always on. So we have a significant usage of the police. I would say we're probably the highest usage in the entire town.
Yes, I remarked on that when we talked.
Yes.
Wow. He's like, well, come in here, and walked into the dispatch, and I'm like, wow, it's a huge energy suck. For good reason, of course. And there might be, some contractor might be able to give a better price, for instance, if they're like, we're a go on both of them. I mean, they're going to have to do staging at both locations, break down, move all their stuff, but they might be willing to do, depending on down the road, who might put up those systems.
Isn't it possible that the hardware might go down in price over time
Sure.
as more production gets up?
Yes, absolutely. Solar's a lot cheaper than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, with all the federal money that should be coming down the pike, and the focus on bringing, the blades for windmills to be produced in Pittsburgh back, and I think there's a lot of emphasis on bringing stuff back to the U.S. Not to say that it's going to be less expensive, but at least it's going to be a lot more money thrown at this.
Well, it doesn't appear that there's any, is there currently no federal money available to help finance? Because there looks like it's a zero on here.
Right now, no, but that might change. So, I mean, we'd look at all the financing opportunities. One thing we even looked at, and Ann sort of hooked me up with the woman whose name I'm going to forget at the bank about financing for a municipal project like this. Because some communities, like Shelburne, just did a system, and they borrowed, because they found that was the most cost-effective way to put up a system. It was like super cheap, 2% loan or something to that effect. And the payback was better. If you can envision that.
Okay.
So I just wanted to kind of throw that out at you. I don't know if we were to move the idea of putting solar on these two buildings, what we'd need to do. Do we have to go back out to RFP, RFQ, or whatever those initials are?
You actually need to get probably approval from the selectmen to start with, and then they have to put it on the warrant for town meeting. And yes, you'd have to go out. We have a bid policy that you'd have to follow.
Would we have to do bids before?
You know what, well, you've got prices right here that you could actually use for town meeting. I wouldn't do anything more than that,
Okay.
if that's where the selectmen want to go.
Sure. I mean, I just heard you guys talking about like getting a couple bids for the truck, right? So is this a place where you also want that sort of due diligence?
Absolutely, yep.
Which I actually appreciate as a taxpayer. Is that the next place where I would go with this, or we at the PEC, the Plymouth Energy Commission, would go, possibly?
Is the board interested in putting solar panels on these two buildings?
It has to be engineered, You have to know that it can support the weight. I mean, I don't think, Steve wouldn't be aware of, the ability for that roof to be able to hold it. I'm not sure Jesse would know either. And they had roof issues, actually, not that long ago. I think it may have
Right.
been dealt with or what. But I think that would definitely be like a first pass at it, is to have our engineer take a look at it if we really want to go forward with,
And this would be for the police department and the town shed, not the transfer station, just to clarify.
okay.
She don't have to make a decision tonight. This is all preliminary information that she's just brought before the board. If you want to think about it, and we can discuss it again on the 13th, or we can discuss it on the, if you're not interested in doing it this year, you can say hold off till next year, you know, it's,
You know, I think for the fact that you're establishing a commission, going to be like late September, you got to get, you know, the warrant articles pretty much done by what, November, December, for
well, it
January?
depends on if you're going to ask her to get petitioned warrant articles, or if the board of selectmen are going to put them on. If they're petitioned, yes, they're due,
Yeah.
I think, in November, December.
How many names on a petitioned warrant article?
25.
25
So it's
or
not that high a barrier anyway, either way.
30 or something like that, just or 40, just to make sure that they're all voters.
That'd be,
Oh, I know it would be,
That'd be
yeah. But then again, in order, well, still, that's the first step, is to, because then you'll have to like, make certain that you can actually build it, you know?
can
You
actually
have to
what?
make certain it can actually build it, physically build it.
Engineer. Yeah, engineering.
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense.
So you have freestanding, you know, on property that we might own. But I think the first step is to get the commission together and see if you can utilize expertise like Ted on a best step forward, then get it on the warrant.
Okay.
Does Ted sell these units, these?
No, he doesn't personally. He's a consultant, so he works with installers.
Okay. You want to be very careful utilizing some people if we need to go out, and if it's federal money, you know, they don't like us to use inside individuals. They want us to get clear, someone not associated, so that there's no chance that someone would not have the opportunity to bid.
Sure.
So we just want to be very careful of who we utilize. And so potentially if Ted is involved with someone who sells this equipment, he potentially could put them at risk of not being able to bid on it or install it or whatever it is that their association is. So you just want to be careful of that.
Right. Chief?
Chair,
Yep.
also if you, I hadn't considered when I talked to you, Grace, about the freestanding, but I'm pretty sure we'd have to look into it, but the 7-acre lot to the left of the PD, I'm pretty sure the town owns that as well. So even if the roof couldn't support it, that's another option, that just the land would have to be obviously cleared for that. But just tossing out options.
Particularly if the engineering might be questionable or something. Okay, so it sounds like we should convene the PEC, hopefully, come back on the 13th with a happy group of folks with their letters requesting to be appointed, and maybe down the agenda, we could take these projects to the next level, which would be to request or ask if the select board would go to the step of engineering, and to see if the engineer would assess whether the buildings could.
Again, if it's a roof, you know, roof installation,
Yeah, does that seem like the,
yep.
okay.
Get 5 people signed up. You can probably crack open a bottle of champagne if you actually get it going.
The other concern I have is financially, you did not budget for this expense this year. So every other department has been told that they need to, you know, tighten their belts, do what you can do. I understand these are very important projects. However, engineering is not cheap.
Yeah, hopefully.
Neither is legal.
You know, there will be federal funds or grant opportunities that we can, you know, take advantage as well.
But not currently, so we just need to be
Right.
careful.
Yep,
All right.
understood.
Any other questions before I hand the mic over? Thank you.
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you.
Thanks, Grace. Okay. Where am I? Oh, Bruce. Wiggett. Sorry. Regarding a flooding issue.
I'm going to have Bruce come up here because you really can't see anyone who's standing there. Just make sure the mic is close to you, Bruce, when you're speaking, so everybody can hear what you're saying. And before he goes too far into it, I do want to let the board know that as soon as we received his full concern with the pictures, everything, I did submit that to Primex, who is our general liability provider. So they are now working on this as well. So I would ask the board not to make any final decisions tonight, but listen to Bruce as he has concerns that he wanted to bring to your attention.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bruce Wiggett. I'm the property manager for Walk to Campus Properties. I manage 119 Main Street amongst 24 other properties in the town.
Bruce, I need you to speak up right into that mic so they can all hear you.
Oh, it's all stuck. I'll pull up a little closer.
There you go.
Is that better?
That's much better.
Perfect. So on February 17th, I believe you guys received all of my information.
Yes, they do.
I received a call from someone in the building saying, "Hey Bruce, there's water in my hallway." I went down, promptly turned the water off to the building. Water kept pouring in. We noticed that it was coming through a wall. Promptly called Plymouth Water and Sewer because the water was extraordinarily foul smelling. We assumed that there was some sort of sewer leak or something along those lines. Plymouth Water and Sewer came out and agreed that it smelled foul, but they also indicated that it could possibly just be stagnant water that had sat somewhere. Long story short, it took probably 3.5 hours before the water stopped pouring out of whatever it was coming from. You could see from the bills, we had to cut 3 feet of walling out throughout the whole basement apartment, plus an adjacent apartment and into the hallway. Had to remove flooring for the entire floor. In the process afterwards, unfortunately, COVID hit, shortly thereafter, so there was very limited things that we could do. I spent some time with Joe. Joe had some concerns of digging up the sidewalk without knowing what was underneath it, kind of directed me towards Plymouth Water and Sewer. Plymouth Water and Sewer said that this is most likely storm sewer and directed me back towards Plymouth Highway. In the process, Water and Sewer has the better plats of the town. Plymouth Highway Department doesn't have as good an infrastructure or plat that they do with Plymouth Water and Sewer. At the Plymouth Water and Sewer, Jason and I found in front of exactly where my building leaked, there is a drainage easement. My last conversation with Brian was if it says easement, there has to be a record. That's a legal term. It's on a legal plat for the town. There should be something on file. Who owns or where did that easement for the drainage come from? I spent a lot of money to repair the building. My biggest concern is what's feeding this drainage easement. Is it a cistern that's there? We don't know. Water and Sewer and Highway both posited the idea that, maybe nothing's there anymore because after, was it 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when the state redid that portion of Main Street, that it may have, they may have interfered with some stuff because they replaced a lot of the storm sewer in that area. And then COVID hit. So we had, zero contact with anybody. As soon as my plan was to come back to you folks when offices opened back up to at least have the conversation. Walk to Campus understands that I'm certainly not looking for everything. for our replacements, but we spent a fair amount of money, and at least something from the town would be helpful, and some work on the town side, and whether it be water and sewer or highway, to determine what is actually out in front of my building. What is this drainage easement, and why did it why did it break? Because we don't want it to happen again, right? We disrupted a student. We had to put one of our residents in some additional housing, which I didn't put that on the cost, but we ate the cost of that. Because it was water from outside, I felt kind of bad. We require all our residents to carry insurance. And because the water came from outside of the building, their insurance pretty much said, too bad, so sad. So they got zero from their insurance company. And ultimately, I have no control over an easement. I couldn't dig the sidewalk up and check it out myself. I can't, do anything because it's legally bound to whomever set the easement up. And we all know that, Plymouth storm sewers, we're in the process of doing all sorts of stuff already. It's a mess. We don't know how long it's been there, where it's been, what fed it. Was that actually a sewage release into my building? Was that just stagnant water that had sat for 70 years in a tank that just happened to let go? But I'm bringing this to the attention of the town because, $15,000 is a lot. And, you want to make sure that it doesn't happen again and at least put it on everybody's radar in hopes to get something back. I would love to get something out of it because it blew my budget up for the year because I didn't account for $15,000 for a flood. But we also understand that it's been some time. So, I'm available for any sort of questions or anything like that.
We're kind of in need of remaining kind of silent for the fact that it's
I completely understand. I talked to Scott, and I've been, I'm sure you've shared my contact information with the insurance company.
Yes, we did.
And,
Yep.
I haven't heard, they haven't reached out to me as of yet, but I'll work with everybody and provide, all of the information I possibly can to them. I'm certainly not looking to hold everybody accountable today, but having it out there and having the discussion, I think is important. Whether I'm managing a property for the town of Plymouth, but also a town resident. So I know what it's going to do to my own taxes and everything else, but I know that we don't want it to happen again, right? Whether I'm a town resident and whether I'm continuing to manage for Walk to Campus or not, we don't want, unforeseen. I can't even posit how much water came in, but there was 3 inches of water over 2,000 square feet of basement. And we couldn't find a way to shut it off. It was pretty much water and sewers like, well, it'll run out eventually. It's pretty much their response. And that's what we did. We started around 11-ish, 11:30 is when I got my first call. And it was 3 o'clock by the time the water stopped seeping out of the walls. They believed that at first they're like, oh, your drainage from your roof. I walked through the building with Brian and pointed out where all of the drainage from my roof goes. It's not anywhere even close. It goes through a hose and into the town septic, which goes out the opposite side of my building. They ran a camera up. They couldn't get a camera to every single space. They did do a smoke test. Unfortunately, it was too late. I had already patched my walls up, so I couldn't, at that point there was new Mylar and new insulation and new drywall. So, if that smoke had come out that space, it was, too trapped behind the membrane behind the wall. But all the smoke came through all of my toilets and everything else. You guys probably remember that during, I think it was late February, early March when when the water and sewer did their smoke test. So, at this point, I'm open for any questions or thoughts. I'll provide anybody, those are the pictures that I still had on my phone. And I'd walk anybody through the space and show anybody, what ended up getting impacted.
When did we contact our insurance?
I got on the 18th of August is when I received this. Actually, it was the 17th of August that I actually received the documents. Their question initially was, why are we just hearing about this now?
Right.
It's the first I really have heard that it was put into writing as to what happened. So as soon as I received that, I submitted it to the insurance company.
The only reason it hadn't gone into writing is because I had been working with Brian at the time. And I'd met with Brian multiple times, probably from the 17th through early March.
I can't say that I hadn't heard about it before, because I have. However, I had really no details, and this in fact was a claim against the town. This is the first time we received that. So as soon as I got that, I put it into the insurance company.
And if it had been asked earlier, I probably would have done it.
Would've-
I would have done like right away.
Absolutely.
But at the time, it was more of an inquiry to the town, like, well, what are we going to do? Like, can you? And I hadn't heard anything. Then the town hall wasn't open.
Yep.
We had COVID.
Brian leaves.
Brian leaves. And I don't even think Scott's doing representing the same roles. I think Brian at the time was doing some town planning stuff. So I just Scott came to my office for something else, and I'm like, well, while you're here.
Did you put a claim into the state and Plymouth Village Water and Sewer as well?
I did not.
Or just the town?
Just the town,
Okay.
as of right now. Water and sewer, I haven't put anything to them directly, but
Okay.
all of my conversations to them is pretty much like, talk to Plymouth.
Talk to
Plymouth. Like, it's not us.
Okay.
That was clearly not us. And I'm like, okay. And that was pretty much how it was left. I can follow suit and have that conversation with them, but my theory is we go to one location and our insurance company and you folks can look back into the same conversations with water and sewer, especially if you can determine who owns what. Where we still don't even know what's there. All I know is on the plat, it says drainage easement, and the box is right in front of the wall that leaked. So where that drainage easement went, I know we've put along the south side of that building is all test wells for the old gas station where the Main Street dental place is.
Yep.
That was an old gas station, so there's all sorts of...
Yeah.
Like, so all of the old wells that are down along that side, so could it have come from there? We don't know. So it's going to take someone that knows their way around the town infrastructure to do that digging, and I don't, to be honest, don't want to do that digging myself unless you open stuff up.
Is 119 Main Street included in the stormwater project and sewer project we're supposed to?
It's above it.
It's too far. It's too far north.
So it's the barber shop.
Yeah, I knew where it was. I couldn't remember where our water sewer project ended.
So,
My understanding is you guys are going from the traffic circle area, but it doesn't mean that you're replacing
No,
the
we're-
storm sewer in
We're
that spot.
starting at Fat Fish and going
Yeah,
down.
Green Street.
Oh, you're starting,
Yeah,
so it's all just,
Yep.
just
South
north.
Main.
It's all South
South
Main.
Main, yeah. So, I mean,
So we won't even have an opportunity to do some investigation at that point.
yeah. So, and ultimately, if we get full payment for it and it happens again, the costs are gonna be there, whether we dig the sidewalk up and find out what's underneath there or repair it. repair what impacted me. I don't know. There are a few people that said that they remembered it having occurred. My employee that worked for Don Stope for 15 years and then has worked for me for 6. So 21 years working in that building. So the only, floods that they had ever had was, self-inflicted. There was a interior pipe that got clogged and, flooded. This was nowhere near so it's next to where our water comes into the building, which is why we shut the water off at the town. And that didn't make any impact. So it wasn't clearly coming from that pipe. And all of our waste and brown water goes towards the bank and out through the parking lot. So it's 20 feet away from the space where it was pouring in through the apartment. So it's clearly coming from whatever that box in the plat says that it's a drainage easement. I just don't know what that is and who registered it. I mean, it should be registered somewhere in our files.
Bruce, just flipping through the receipts real quickly. The main flooring receipt is for...
So the main flooring receipt was to demonstrate how many square feet I had purchased in general. So I took my overall cost for materials. So I paid $3.08
Okay,
a
so
square foot for
bought
materials. Yeah, I bought it because I was doing floors
You're doing
everywhere.
floors everywhere, and you used
Every year someone burns-
a portion of this
Yeah.
purchased material to replace
to replace the floors.
So as a basis of setting the cost.
Yep. I just wanted everybody, be as clear as I possibly could with, and I didn't put in the costs for my dumpsters, and I didn't put in the costs, I think I gave probably about $500 or $600 in, concessions to the young man that was in there because he lost everything. So and I didn't put in the cost for housing. We put him up for housing for 3 weeks while I, redid his entire apartment.
And
So none of
cross your
those
fingers
costs.
that it wouldn't happen again.
Really, yeah. We moved him back in, and when I had zero assurances, I was like, great, this is, I have no clue whether it's going to happen again. Based on the foul smell of the water, I'm assuming that it was some sort of cistern that probably let go, that probably had sewer in it at one point, because we all know that our storm sewer and our brown water systems intermingled, at multiple points in time, and it let go. But I'm not an expert. This is just my looking at it, and it makes sense that that's probably what it is, but I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. So.
Appreciate it.
And, I certainly can appreciate being a town member, with what position I'm in, but I also have to advocate for my company that lost, and we're a multi-million-dollar, worth of assets. So our cap for replacement is, the house burns down. This sort of flood comes out of my operational budget. I was like, great. that was a big hit. And that was over $18,000 last year. So I was like, well, I can put that off of my flood. So if I could recoup some of it, I would appreciate it. And I know that has nothing to do with you folks. It's going to have to do with our insurance company. But let me know if I need to come back after I meet
If
with
you
them.
don't hear from our insurance company later this week, would you please let me know? Call me here at the town hall, and I'll give you, I just don't have their information with me right now. But, yep.
I'm
Give me a
in,
call and I'll,
you guys know where to find me.
yep.
I'm the squeaky wheel in town, so.
Thanks, Bruce.
No worries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, committee reports. Are there any committee reports?
At least one.
They're all yelling.
Do you want to go ahead, Ted?
Sure. The Campus Community Council met and basically had a presentation from Marlon that covered all of what Plymouth State is doing to prepare for COVID. It's all included in your packet. There were a couple of issues brought up. The most specific one is the purpose of this committee, the Campus Community Council, and basically we're looking for a stated mission purpose for the committee so that it can be clearly articulated what they're supposed to do. So right now, and I don't know the answer to this, is there a stated charter or mission for that organization today?
No.
And so, the question, if the answer is no, then the desire is for the select board to create a stated purpose, mission statement for the organization.
I asked Steve to come up because he's a member of that board as well and has more historical information that maybe he could share to help you, Ted.
Well, I mean, Ted was there, and we both know. I think what it is they're not well attended. And somebody has suggested if we have a mission statement saying this is what we do, this is our purpose, it would attract more people to come and give their opinions in the community and to participate in that very specific group. Because literally, what were there were only 4 landlords that showed up, and that was it. Nobody else from, the public showed up. So they're trying to get more people to show up.
T-Rose, were they there or not? Oh, yeah?
Nope.
I can remember in years past, these meetings were very well attended.
Yeah, Neil sat on it. I remember Neil was there, and the room was packed full of people.
Yeah.
Not anymore. No, not anymore. So they're just trying to attract more people. And I made the suggestion maybe just because in this day and age, communication's a little quicker. And if somebody has an issue, they either call me directly, email me directly, and I take care of the issue. But, that committee does serve some purpose. And I think it's to, facilitate between, town and the university what the issues are, bring them forward, and then to get the public input on solutions to those issues. So it shouldn't just have to be us coming up with the solutions all the time. How do you guys feel, and how do you think, what's the best solution to the problem? That's what we used to do anyway.
I think we discussed the inquiring as to the possibility if we could have PBTV coverage of the meetings.
Makes
That was
sense.
one of the questions.
Would certainly raise awareness. I'm not sure it would increase public participation.
Agreed.
But there are people that would be circulating the community who would observe it on PBTV.
Yes.
And then it would kind of introduce some of the discussion.
Yeah. Definitely, I think it would be, people would be able to access it and view it easier, but you wouldn't get that back and forth interaction with somebody actually here or being able to participate on Zoom or something like that where they could ask direct questions. So when there was, and Ted, I was sorry I was back there, couldn't hear everything you were saying. There was some concern or a want to have the town to take this back over again rather than having the university run it as a committee. Way back when the town did run the meetings.
Yeah.
And then at some point it got shifted over to the university, and somebody in the audience had asked if we could shift it back to the town again.
Who from the university comes?
Oh, there's Marlon, Jessica Dutile, yeah,
Oh, okay, yep, sorry.
Jeff Furlong. There was quite a
Usually
few
we
people.
have somebody from campus security too.
Mhm.
But
We have a better relationship now with the university, so potentially this council is not as utilized anymore. I mean, there's still a purpose for it. But as you said, you take care of most of your calls as soon as they come in. You have a better working relationship with the college than I think what we've had in several years.
I mean, I would agree with all of that. You know, this was mainly coming from one person. You know, but do I agree with some of his statements? Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, the other thing too is, you know, we're in the day and age where you want instant gratification because of technology. So if somebody's got a problem, they call me immediately and we go take care of the problem. And, you know, why would you want to wait an entire month to bring it up at a meeting when you could call the PD, the fire department, the university, whomever, right away and just get your problem taken care of? So that's kind of the philosophy too.
You know, since we had COVID, we've done a lot of things online.
Yep, absolutely.
So,
I would only add that it is also a desire if it's going to continue and we have a focus for it, that we provide more public advertising for it, you know, on the town website. Someone proposed sandwich boards so that people could be aware that there is a meeting.
And that's where we get the mission statement from, because somebody had actually said, well, if you put there's a campus community council meeting at the town hall, somebody's like, oh, what the heck is that? So that's where they came up with the mission statement, like, okay, we probably need to define it so people actually know what the purpose is. That way maybe it'll attract them to actually come to the meeting.
And I would actually advocate on the same regard that we have for any of the committees and councils, or whatever you want to call them, that we have officially sanctioned as far as the town of Plymouth, that there should be an easy way on the website to discover what they are and what their purpose is. Even if the purpose is one short paragraph.
Do we have most of the other committees on there already? We do, right?
Yeah. Who runs that meeting, Steve?
Right now it's a university, and Marlon's set up to, he chairs it, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. It's usually him.
So what do you actually discuss at these meetings or do?
Anything. It can. It started out with community problems with the students. That's how it kind of started out in its conception. But now it's turned into more like, you know, sometimes if I have a new police officer, I'll bring the new police officer, introduce the public, you know, and the new police officer. Talk about what's going on at the police department, what's going on at the community, trends we're seeing, stuff like that. Fire department, similar update. University, similar update. And we all kind of go through our each individual departments and discuss what's going on.
Right now, the boards and committees page is pretty empty. It doesn't say anything there.
Actually, is empty.
But you do have, I mean, you like have Conservation Commission, you have,
That's you know, there's a specific item for Conservation Commission,
Right.
Planning Board,
right?
and Zoning Board of
Memberships are there.
Adjustment. I'd have to look at each one specifically. Yeah, the membership is there, so some of them are pretty well filled out.
You should have a Park and Rec Commission. Do you have a Park and Rec Department? You go to their commission meetings.
There's nothing listed under boards and committees for that. That might be, there's an area on departments for Parks and Recreation,
But not for the commission.
for the commission, so.
there's probably a number of those, you know.
Right.
And also Cemetery Trustees.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we can think of quite a few that aren't being represented on our webpage, but, so yeah, it probably does make sense to at least put them on our webpage.
Put them on there, what they're for.
Yeah.
So would the board challenge the CCC to come up with a mission and present it to the board.
Charge the CCC?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the college, if it's their meeting.
Yeah, well, I don't think it necessarily is or should be, and maybe the mission statement should like a joint meeting
Yeah.
between the university and town, and that we should chair a joint manship or whatever.
Agreed, that was the entire purpose of the whole
Yeah.
thing anyway.
Yeah. So, but it sounds good to be able to nail it down and then formalize it and then promote it.
They can present something to the select board as to what they'd like they believe that their mission is. It isn't something that the board needs to create for them.
Sure, we have representatives.
Right?
Yeah. So, yes, Neil and myself.
Do you want us to start crafting it? Because we have our two members that, okay.
I would think they would. I
Right.
agree with Ann. I would think that group would. So they're actually all in agreement as well.
Right.
I'll
mission
happily
is.
work with them to craft a mission statement.
Yeah, I
There's
think
a
that would
real
kinda,
need
like,
for this
drive it
committee.
forward then.
There's a real need for it, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll put it on the budget for the next CCC, whenever that is, but
Yeah, we'll
What's that?
just,
I do not know off the top of my head.
nor do I. So just email Marlon and he can put it on the agenda to discuss the mission statement, and we'll come up with ideas.
And then let's make sure that those meetings make it back into the town calendar.
Correct. Yeah.
yeah. And you were talking about like a sandwich board. The sandwich board is actually a good idea, or something out front that actually has a list of stuff and, you know,
I think we keep hearing that people
we do.
want something like that, so we should probably do.
all I can think was like, an Alex Ray type thing. Put a board out there with like, hey, tonight we got a CCC and stuff, but
You're an artist, right?
Oh, no. Stick people. That's fine.
Speaking of Alex Ray, he's got his new sign up for the lodge.
Yeah, because he does. Just went up today. That lettering went up today. Yeah.
hadn't seen it.
So
All right.
we'll come up with some ideas, or you guys will
Yeah, I
come
mean,
up with some ideas?
it's not rocket science, it's just coming up with a mission statement. It's just simple and
Yeah,
to the point. Yep.
And sandwich boards, if there's an expense associated, you guys need to bring some
Well,
expense.
the sandwich board is going to be expensive, unless we do like an Alex Ray type thing where we just
Yes.
get a couple 2x4s and some plywood.
We need to figure out where the money's coming from, if we're paying for it, or the college is paying
Oh,
for
okay,
it.
yeah.
or-
Well, I think the sandwich board idea is more, the scope is really more than just
CCC.
the CCC. I think it's in general, as people drive by, to alert them, hey, there's a blah, blah, blah meeting tonight.
There's still an expense
Yeah,
associated with it all.
I get that. I just don't want it to be associated with this thing specifically.
Right.
It is something for communications to our constituents.
Yep.
All right. Thanks.
Welcome.
Before we drop that particular topic about the sign, because I do think it's a good idea, should we reach out to someone to get a price on a sign?
And to kind of agree on a format, like what we would like to see out there. I mean, we could put like a trailhead type thing, with a couple of posts, a little roof, and, like a bulletin board or something like that.
I think it's got to be something that's visible to someone just casually driving by. Big letters, nothing overly fancy, unless you want to do it electronically.
It's like the high school
Yeah.
play.
So are you thinking like a chalkboard space to write?
Something like that. I don't know specifically.
Something like that.
There's something that
It would
it's-
also be nice if it had Plymouth-nh.org or whatever, .gov.
Yeah.
Are we .org or .gov?
Org.
.org on the sign,
Not the
so
site
that
up.
when you don't know, like, well, what does that mean? Where do I go to find out? It's
So maybe the Plymouth-nh.org is something that is
permanently on the
permanent.
sign. And then there's some space on the sign where we could change it out, whether that's handwritten or slip in or
How big is that sign gonna be?
It's got to be big.
sandwich board
It's got to
size.
be big
Those are
enough
big.
to be read.
Right. It's a lot of information.
It's not that much information.
You're telling them about the town website.
Right.
You've got a URL on it, and you've got select board tonight, or select board 8, whatever today's date is, 23 at 5 p.m., right? That's
Something, I mean, others have done it, so
Absolutely.
maybe
Like more
we
complicated things.
Take a look
than
at
that.
others first.
take a look at what others have
Yeah.
done and do
Right.
the same thing.
You want it to withstand the weather?
Who should we charge with this task? Because otherwise it's not going to get done.
Like a
Frank.
big-
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I have no idea, honestly.
So.
I'll do it. I'll
You'll
get
do
some
it.
prices.
You know, just as a thought too, I mean, this could be like an Eagle Scout type of a solution too. Because they've done, you know, stuff for like trailheads. I'm not, you know, focused on a trailhead sign, but, you know, they could probably put something together too. Cheap, you know, free labor, we buy whatever materials and someone gets a Eagle Scout degree or whatever. With my Boy Scout familiarity.
Maybe we just put it on the boss plate
On the boss?
so we don't forget about it.
Yes, we
True.
should.
Yep. Well, Ann's going to do some research then. All right.
What's your other tasks?
School district met while we were here last time, so I was not able to attend the elementary school one. The high school has taken to meeting before 5 o'clock, and I can't get there. As such, it's going to be very challenging for me to keep up with my responsibility on that particular representation.
When do they meet?
So the high school meets, I think, at I don't know if it's 4 or 4:30, so it's towards the end of the day. But
Days of the week, random?
I think usually Tuesdays.
Because I could probably do it if I knew more information.
Yeah.
Actually, Lisa's
I was
the,
going to say we're going to have the chair in here a bit later, so you could ask her. That would be great if we could split those.
Well, you get the planning board.
The other
is it public?
related,
Standing
same
up.
thing, the LRPC next meeting's 9/27.
Okay. Any others?
Planning board?
Yeah, we did have an application we went through for a sandwich shop, right by, I'm going to say Smoking Joe's.
Didn't-
Aroma Joe's.
Yeah,
Didn't go through.
No, it definitely didn't go
was
through. That
submitted.
was, it got a,
It didn't go through?
No, it did not. There
Should
were,
have watched it.
yeah,
It's
too many
Rap
things.
City or something like that,
Rap
right?
City, right.
Huh.
Too many contingencies. So they're gonna go back and we'll typically, so they'll come in and do a visit at our work session as opposed to waiting the month. See if we can get that through from Mike.
Okay.
We also had a subdivision that went through.
Yeah, minor.
Minor.
Right.
Any other news from the?
I am stepping down from representing the select board and the planning board. Zach will be the voting member now. So if anybody else wants to be alternate, it's up for grabs.
I think I might volunteer.
Alrighty.
Unless there are other more compelling or desirable. All right, I'll be the alternate.
Anybody opposed?
What's that?
Anybody opposed? Nay.
So let it be written.
Zach, you're willing to step up to
Yes.
that?
Marianne, thank you for your service on the planning
My
board.
pleasure, Bill. I've learned a lot.
Aren't you going to give up something that you're doing to Mary Ann, maybe?
I was taking over Zach for the high school.
She's taking half my school.
I did mention that, I believe. I'm
I
on
shied away.
water and sewer. Very interesting committee. I don't know if and also so much is being planned.
This
A
is
lot of
true.
stuff coming down the pike.
This is true.
And your ability to both utilize that experience
All right, already.
in economic
All right,
development.
already. we only had economic, and I get why we don't right
We're getting
now.
there. We're getting there.
All right, tell me about Plymouth Village Water and Sewer. I don't mind, they're doing the whole Main Street thing, so I'm
Yep.
totally interested in that.
They meet. They meet periodically. And to be frank, I haven't been to a meeting since probably last year because they went COVID. They went online, and I'm not saying it's not. This shouldn't be difficult to. You might be able to find it online too, but the announcement of their meetings is, they have a sign on the side of the building, apparently, that tells you when the meeting is coming up.
I see.
And so they're not like regularly planned, I don't believe.
So who's your contact? Who do you?
Kim.
How do you find out?
Kim Hayes.
Yep. At the office.
Okay.
Haynes, I'm sorry, Haines.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure to serve. At the will.
All right. And Neil.
We had a Conservation Commission meeting on the 17th. It was very well attended. Our first matter of discussion was regarding submitting a plan to the planning board for natural resource inventory. And we discussed how we were going to do the mapping and wildlife protection. Michael Bouchard, who's on the planning board, is also on the Conservation Commission. There's a proposed trail project for multi-use on Plymouth Mountain, and they're talking with Greenacre Woodlands about issues, and they may have the trail on some private land that belongs to Steve Rand and a neighbor by the name of Ingersoll. And they want to include hiking and biking. The biking is popular, but there are some issues that go along with it. They discussed the trail collective as it relates to the Oxbow wetland, which is on the other side of the river, and trying to stay in compliance with Fish and Game's Wildlife Action Plan. The important thing is that they don't disturb rare and endangered species by having the trail in the wrong place. So that there's planning going on there. And then the Conservation Commission is working with another group on Heritage Trail, and so I guess we need to use Garmin locating equipment and develop a baseline appraisal. Another issue that they talked about was having a bio-blitz, which is a species scavenger hunt, where you get groups together to sweep an area to find a different locate and record different species of vegetation or wildlife. They want to talk about getting a warrant article together to see if they can get more luck funds. That's land use change tax. And in a lot of other towns, the percentage amount that the Conservation Commissions get is much higher than what they get in Plymouth. Then lastly, they talked about the Oxbow Wetland Project and Plymouth State University land, which is adjacent, well, they used to call it Langdon Park, and it's in between the new dorms, which are near the Armory, and the high school, where the high school has their practice field down by the river and the ski jump. They want to have a trail that goes all the way through from the bridge up by Route 25, Tenny Mountain Highway, and some of the issues are that the multiple uses. You have the people who hike, people who bike, and skiers, and people who walk dogs, and so they're working on developing a plan with the elementary school, and I guess the high school's involved, and a neighbor named Simpson owns a large tract of land which is adjacent to Ward Bridge Road on the west side, and he's going to allow the development of a trail to be tied in with the ski trails and hiking trails. So they have a subgroup working on that.
Great.
So there's a lot going on the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, that's great. Is that where the chain link fence though comes down? Is that the Simpson property then? Yes, or?
I don't know anything about a fence.
Okay, there's like a chain link fence that comes
I
down.
just know that they're working on that trail, and they have to be very careful that they don't disrupt too many stumps or logs or whatever are there. They have to have a very low impact.
Yeah. Neat.
Where are they trying to take those trails over to? You said the bridge? Which bridge?
Well, Tenny Mountain Highway has a bridge over the Baker River.
Okay. Yeah.
And ultimately, they want to have a trail that goes all the way from the Pemmy River, because we have a trail that goes along the Pemmy River, and they want that trail to come across by where the Gardens for All of Plymouth are, and go up across the university land, and then join on to the land that the schools own, and then they can follow right away that Water Sewer has, and they can go up and go under the bridge, and then they're working on. They haven't quite got it nailed down, but they're working on a agreement with Mike McGinley.
Now that
to have that trail go.
That conservation easement is very problematic for a trail, and I think we need to make sure that we figure out how to negotiate that before it's done.
Yep.
Whether that includes making a subdivision to that land so that we can put a corridor through that conservation easement, or I don't know, but that's going to get locked down, and that's going to become an area where no one is able to walk, and that could happen to us real fast if we don't keep an eye on it.
I guess that's the unknown right now.
Well, June seems pretty convinced, based on the language around the conservation easement that she's seeing, that it will not be possible to put a trail through there unless we do something
I thought that was the whole idea.
I think lots of us think that's the whole idea, and we should continue to push on this to make sure that the whole idea doesn't get lost in paperwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not certain exactly where that stands, because I thought we're going to check with someone's going to check with DES as far as
June presented on that at the planning board and said that it was not going to be allowed as a conservation, because of the language of that conservation easement. It would not be allowed to do any recreational activity through that piece of land.
So that was the response from DES, because
yes,
theoretically that could have been a permitted use of that conservation easement.
That was what she reported to us at the last meeting.
Really?
But I wonder if there's still opportunity to do some sort of subdivision to create a corridor, you know, and put an easement on the land on either side so that you can still get through there in some way. I don't know.
Wow.
We need our state representatives. That's what we need. We need
That would be
somebody that
helpful,
can
but-
work with the state.
I'm not surprised that DES wouldn't allow the permitted use of making it on like municipal trail. But
They said that is not the intention of the wetland mitigation.
well, yeah, so we need to be working on that.
We have an issue.
I mean, maybe we need to bring June in to our next meeting to talk about potential options there.
Okay. Yeah, if it's like a done deal though, with McGinley submitting that as an easement, and that's the language that his attorneys, I guess, came up with to satisfy the wetland mitigation.
Nothing's done until we accept it, right?
I will ask her to come in at the next meeting on the 13th.
I think that's a very important issue.
Yeah, it is.
Agreed.
Okay. Any other committee reports?
Not a committee, but it's committee adjacent. We've been continuing to have our meetings about selecting the engineer for the wastewater project. And we have finished the interviews and the review, and we'll have a engineer selected next Monday.
Nice.
Okay. Okey-doke. All right, so personnel. Is that going to be entirely as non-public or what?
Actually, these personnel items, I'm just going to go through real quick.
Sure.
And then you have several people waiting for non-public to meet with the board.
Right.
So if I could just quickly go through these items, if you don't mind. I know, I'm sorry, it's a long meeting. A lot to do. So the airport manager, who is Colin MacGyver, has indicated that he can no longer commit to being a full-time airport manager for the town of Plymouth due to home commitments that he's taken on. However, he has found someone to assist him with those duties, so I'm going to ask him to come in on the 13th again, or the 27th, whenever he can, to explain his procedure of how he wants things to work and how we're going to pay the person. The person can't just volunteer if they're doing specific, items that Colin is getting paid for now. So we want to be very careful with that. So we'll have Colin come in on the 13th.
Would that be a position we'd have to post?
I'm sorry?
Would that be a position we'd have to post, this other half-time?
Well, it's a part-time position.
Okay.
And Kathy has control over that position.
Okay.
But I think Colin has been doing this long enough to give the board some ideas of how he can help you, continue in that position. He does a great job. He really does. We don't want to lose him if we don't have to.
I think
for
he's
sure.
been managing the airport for 13 years.
It's a 13, yeah. It was before I got here that he was there, so. The part-time welfare position update, we have found someone to fill that position. Her name is Mary Ann Peabody. She actually started this week with the regular hours. Just so the board knows, there is a change in the hours. It used to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now it is Monday, Thursday, and Fridays. She's here from 10 to 2 on Mondays and Thursdays, and from 11 to 1 on Fridays, and we're hoping at some point she will be back up to the Bridge House working. Mary Ann's been doing this type of work in the town of Thornton since 1982. So she's got a lot of experience, and that's what we needed, was somebody running.
I've known her for years.
You've been in trouble, huh? No, I'm kidding. Yeah. So, so far, I think she's been working with Missy, doing a job there. As the board knows, Juliet Harvey Bolliard no longer works for the town at this time. So we're in need of finding someone to come in and do some general work with June. And so what I have before you is a circuit rider planner assistant between the town of Plymouth and Lakes Region Planning Commission, in which Lakes Region Planning Commission staff will come and assist for 10 to 15 hours per month. And what they will be doing is public notices for the planning board, drafting minutes. They're kind of picking up some of those administrative duties that it isn't something that our staff necessarily have the time to take on until we fill that position. This is only between September and December. And during that time, it gives us a little bit more time to find someone who we really want in that position to replace Jules. So it is $81 per hour. It's payable to, again, Lakes Region Planning Commission. This program is going to be run under Susan Slack. As some of you may know, Susan, she used to work for New Hampshire Municipal Association as an attorney. She actually now works for Lakes Region Planning Commission. She may not be the person here doing the work, but it will be under her direction and communicating with June. So I'm asking for the board to approve this agreement, and it's, again, $81 per hour, and it's for 10 to 15 hours per month. And we do have the funding currently in the budget for this because we are not paying dues. So if the board would really be willing to approve that, I would appreciate it.
And you're asking for
A motion
a
and for you to
yeah,
sign it.
okay, gotcha. Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement between the town of Plymouth and the Lakes Region Planning Commission for the sum of $81 an hour. I don't know how much detail.
And it runs from September 1 through December 31st.
Running from September 1 through December 31st.
Thank you.
With an option to continue.
We can, but that's our initial.
Okay.
I'll second.
And to allow Bill to sign the thing, because the rest of us.
Yes, please.
And allow me to sign.
Oh, and allow Bill to sign.
Thank you.
I still second.
I still
I second the amended.
All right. Any discussion? I would speak in favor of Suzanne Slack as well, because
Yeah, she's
she'd be
great.
good. But anyway, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
And the last thing I have in public session is a resignation from Steve Walsh
Go that down to.
in the Highway Department.
Want me to read it? I, Stephen Walsh, hereby submit my notice of resignation from the Highway Department of the Town of Plymouth, New Hampshire, effective August 4th, 2021. My last day of employment will be August 19th, 2021. I thank you for many years I have been able to serve this town. Sincerely, Stephen Walsh. And need a motion to accept his resignation.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Stephen Walsh.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? See none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Okay.
Unless there's any public.
Is there any, or are there any public comments? Okay, seeing none. We do have some items for a non-public session. And would someone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we go into non-public in accordance with RSA 91A:3(2) for A, B, and C. Personnel hiring and reputation.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconds. Zach, your vote?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. Mary Ann?
Aye.
Ted?
Right.
On that.
Oh, we do.
What are we
No
discussing?
discussion.
She made the motion. I think she adjourned.
okay.
Kind of a tie, but
Bill, Zach has,
Discussion, we should vote to seal the minutes.
oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't think we want these minutes public in 3 days.
All right, so you made the motion, or you said we should have a motion?
second.
Do we have to make the sealing?
Oh, we gotta get that-
Before or after?
We had
come
to,
out?
yeah, so we gotta get a non-public first, so,
Doesn't matter. Do whatever you want to
We
do.
vote
and
to
I'll
seal
write.
after we come out?
yeah.
Ann's had it.
Zach, you vote
Wait.
for non-public. Neil?
Second.
Bill, aye.
Please,
Mary Ann?
aye. Aye.
How long?
A year,
Yeah.
Vote
max.
to seal the minutes for the maximum 1 year.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Ayes
I
have
make
it.
a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay.